quorum on, so we're going to just jump right in. I want to say it's nice to see everybody. I haven't seen everybody in a couple of weeks, and I feel that it's been my fault that Mr. Harmia hasn't been here for a couple of weeks too. So lots going on, but let's jump into item A, which is the report from the city and the consultant lobbying teams, see where we're at.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. It's Joe Thompson here with Mr. Jaramillo, and we have Libby with us in Santa Fe. And as you know, it's rumored.
This meeting is being recorded.
It's rumored that today or tomorrow, we will start to see the fruits of our labor as it relates to capital. So we are kind of lurking around, trying to get our hands on any lists before they actually become public. We haven't had so much luck today, but we're confident that we did our best and that the city did well in capital. And that's pretty much what we've been working on as it relates to capital.
Any questions for Mr. Thompson? Mr. Thompson, I had a quick question. Do you have any information on the governor's capital outlay at this point?
Well, yes, Madam Chair, and that's the problem that they're having, is merging the governor's amounts with the legislative amounts. So even if we might know, we feel like we have a good idea on certain projects what legislators have done, but it's incomplete. It's kind of like when we sent out the House Bill 2 junior list, but it only had the Senate in it. It was not particularly helpful. So we're trying to avoid making the same mistake by having an incomplete list. We hear that with the governor's ads, like we're looking at something within the next 24 hours that we'll be able to send you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to, unless there's any other questions on capital outlay, we will move on to Mr. Jaramillo.
Yes, councilors and members of the IGR, David Jaramillo. Lots of stuff has happened since I last reported, I think 2 weeks ago. Couple of quick things near and dear to Councilor Feeblecorn and others on this are the preemption bills. House Bill 431 and 430, I both believe were rolled out of government today. I don't know that they'll be heard. I think there's strong opposition from municipalities as well as environmental groups on the preemptive nature of those, really divest local government of their local authority. So I think those bills will meet their end. I guess there's no other way to say that. But today, the Metropolitan Redevelopment Area Bill, it's very important in the city of Albuquerque and other municipalities and towns across the country, passed Senate Finance 7-0. We anticipate having a floor vote on that soon, and that move over to the House very quickly. Yesterday, the UNM South TID passed the House floor. It's an important development in our Southeast Heights UNM area. Will provide lots of economic development for the community that has been waiting for it. That TID has been in development. It's a TID that was approved by both the county and this council. So I think that will likewise be moving to the Senate and through the Senate fairly quickly. I believe as we speak, the Benny Hargrove bill, the safe storage gun bill, House Bill 9, is being argued on the Senate floor, where we anticipate it will pass. It will need to go back to the House for some concurrence based upon amendments that were placed on House and Senate Judiciary. I don't know whether amendments on the floor will survive, but it will have to go back to the House, where we expect another 3-hour debate in the next week or so, and then hopefully on its way to the governor for signature. It's an important gun safety bill sponsored by Representative Pamela Herndon, and the APD commanders and Damon Martinez have been instrumental in helping that. In fact, they're both on the Senate floor right now, serving as experts, I believe. There's myriad other smaller bills, not that they're not important, but not quite as impactful as those bills. The city continues to wait for the final tax package that is being put together. And we are in day-to-day discussions with other interested parties, as well as the governor's office and leadership in both chambers about the potential impacts on the city of Albuquerque's revenues and public safety matters related to that. So I think that's going to be a day-to-day focus for the next week as that tax package is finalized. I'm sure I may have missed something. If others are, I know Mr. Padilla, who we work very closely with on a lot of these matters, is on the call. If he wants to remind me of things that I've missed, like I said, it's been a fairly busy day. Oh, of course, I missed the organized retail crime bill that we did pass with overwhelming numbers. I think it was 60-some to 3. A very important bit of legislation to address the epidemic of retail crime throughout the state. And it's in response to that. We expect that to move through the Senate very quickly and up to the governor's desk for signature. It's an important, if not the leading bill on the MCI package that the city has placed in the legislature to help our community fight crime and become safer, both for individuals as well as our business community. Any questions from any of the folks? I'm happy to try to answer. I'm speaking very quickly because that's what, in this stage of the session, you are in a mode where you speak very quickly to members. And so hopefully I'm not speaking too quickly to you all, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Any questions or comments on any of the legislation? Mr. Harmey, I just had a quick question. I feel like I should know this, but what were the changes on the Senate side for that gun bill that needs to go back for concurrence?
Oh, there were a lot of I don't think they were
substantive or just small.
I think they were small changes. They were typical, and I'm not being derisive. Senate Judiciary has its role. They often feel that they are improving and clarifying language in the bill, and I think that's really what it was. I've spoken with the sponsor as well as Mr. Martinez and others who are involved, and they didn't believe there was any significant substantive changes. Should not change the vote count in the House on concurrence.
Great. Mr. Grieger?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just, David, could you also, because I know the warrant bill was a big priority for us, just if there's any dates that you or anybody else can have, because I know that was a important priority. I want to make sure everybody's aware of what's going on there.
Absolutely. I think on the warrant bill, this is always it's sort of like the VIP initiative that we pushed for the last several years. The most critical part of it is, of course, is the funding, because we can't actually do the substantive work without the funding. The funding in House Bill 2 was secured at $7 million. We are hopeful that an additional $3 million will be added on the Senate side. My understanding is that there were behind closed doors meetings this afternoon hammering out a final deal on the budget. And in speaking with the folks who are making those decisions, we reiterated the need for at least a minimum of $10 million, and we're hopeful that that'll be met. In addition, we have a standalone bill in House Appropriations that has had to be tinkered with a few times, because when you have a standalone policy bill with an appropriation, they have special language that needs to be placed in there so that they don't just sort of strip the appropriation, strip the bill, kill the bill, so that we have actually in statute what the program is. And we're hopeful that that will get done in appropriations. There's not any objection to it. It's mostly a system or a function issue and making sure we get the appropriate language. But we are fairly confident that final funding in the amount of at least $10 million will be there for use by APD and all involved parties within Bernalillo County, as well as other parts of the state, to execute on these really selected violent criminal warrants. I think that covers it, Mr. Griego Montoya. I think that's what you were mentioning. And again, I'm sorry that one has been sort of set in stone on the budget, and the technical issues regarding finishing the bill were pending, so it wasn't on the top of my radar, because we've been really working on the retail crime bill and the TID and the MRA bills in the last few days.
No, thanks, David. Appreciate that. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to get an update.
All right. Any other questions, comments on anything state legislation oriented? Okay, thank you, Mr. Jaramillo, Mr. Thompson. Appreciate all your work. We're gonna move on. Oh,
Can we be excused with that?
of course, yes, please
I appreciate that.
go back.
Okay.
I'm so happy to not be there with you today. I'm actually.
Well, I'm monitoring. There's not a lot of action this afternoon. They're watching that floor debate and then congratulating hopefully Mr. Martinez and the commander for their hard work on the floor.
Yeah.
I'll
Thank you
give
both
that
for being here.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's move on to federal lobbyist. I think I saw Mr. Kyriakis. I think, oh, John,
yes.
you're here. Yes, Mr. O'Connell, go ahead.
I've changed, yes, Madam Chairman, I've changed my name. Got some stuff to report on. The House has come out this week with its guidelines for the FY24 appropriations. And I sent Tom and Eric a list of what the deadlines are in the House. And then the House members, you only submit once, as opposed to Senator Heinrich and Senator Lujan, who have a preliminary form you submit and then a secondary form. So the House deadlines with Congresswoman Ledger Fernandez is unusual, a date. It's Sunday, March 12th. Congresswoman Stansberry is Tuesday, March 14th, and Congressman Vasquez is Friday, March 17th. This year in the House, only 7 subcommittees are going to have earmarks. They have taken financial services, labor, health, human services, and financial services and HHS. Those are not going to be earmarked. The other ones that we don't are not involved with, but they're not on the list, are defense, legislative affairs, and foreign operations. So we only have 7 subcommittees there. The House also, the rule the last 2 years has been that the earmark funding available would be 1% of the discretionary domestic spending. The Republican majority has reduced that to 0.5%. So those are the principal guidelines. And what we also did today was have a conversation with Congressman Vasquez's legislative director, talking about what his priorities might be and some of the program areas that he would be interested in. Public safety, economic development, and water were the 3 that were mentioned. That doesn't mean that it's restricted to those, but those were the 3 that his legislative director mentioned to us. Kyriakis, is there anything else that was listed in that discussion that I should include here?
No, but there are other restrictions, like for example, in the transportation HUD, economic development initiative account, things like museums and memorials, and I would even say parks, are now ineligible for earmarking, and they've imposed a criteria that whatever project or projects folks submit have to have a federal nexus, and it's got to be defined. So there is an effort to really sort of tighten up the process in terms of what's eligible on the House side, at least.
Thank you.
Mhm.
In the discussion that we had with Mr. Vasquez's ledge director, we did some probing in terms of the amount of earmarks, and his comment to us was, we think that between 500,000 and 3 million is in the ballpark in terms of requests. He also said one of the things that, and this is not unusual, one of the things we would do is try to have a geographic diversity of their earmarks. So I don't know what that means. I know what it means, but I don't know how that's gonna apply to the Albuquerque, Bernalillo County area. He has 15 earmarks, so we'll see what the distribution is. My sense is that you probably can legitimately ask for maybe 3 earmarks from him. You could ask for 4, but I mean, in terms of the discussion that we had with his ledge director, it seemed like we didn't get an answer to that, but when we mentioned those numbers, we didn't get a laugh. So that's the extent of our report as far as Washington goes. Our update. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. Any questions, comments? All right, we're going to move on to other business. Does anybody have anything else to raise for this committee? Okay, hearing none. I think I'm going to adjourn this meeting of the Intergovernmental Legislative Relations Committee, and we will see you all next Friday. Thanks, everybody.